Hello again. This is the last session for today marathon on ETIPWind and getting fit for 55 and ready for 2050. As we said, right, the EU has committed to climate neutrality by 2050, and this will require national governments to actually adopt the new strategic approach of the clean research and innovation and competitiveness to support the EU recovery and the 2050 decarbonization goal. So a better linked up between the national and European policies and funding instruments is essential to achieve and enable that. But how we will do that? For that, we have assembled this panel here with our experts, and they will tell us all about it. So let me introduce you straight away to you, and then we move forward. So basically, we have here Alessandra Stocu, we have Belén Linares, and then we have Paolo Pino and Lena Kittig. So welcome all of you into this latest panel of our session today. Without further ado, maybe we start straight with some questions, and I would start with you, Belén, and looking at a lot of discussions in the previous panel was about the wind being the backbone of the future energy system. And the industry is rather confident that this it can deliver, right? If the right measures are there, and we can deliver that massive supply of wind energy. But is it the wind energy mature enough? And are there still needs for research there or not?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation for this panel, and thank you, my colleagues, to be there also. Yes, the wind and the solar PV, both are the most cost-effective technologies and very mature. And this is the reason why it is getting more and more difficult to get innovative measures in these sectors. But it is more difficult and more challenging, but it is also more needed in order to create a new breakthrough business models relative to the wind sector and the new technologies that are all around the wind sector. And together with the wind sector, some of the new technologies or new innovations are driven by the search of the efficiency, operation and maintenance, new technological digitalization, robotics, artificial intelligence applications to the wind. But others are generating new business models all around the wind. For instance, the wind energy storage, the wind plus the green hydrogen hybridization, the hybridization of the wind energy with other technologies, always renewable if it is possible for the decarbonization purposes, and the floating offshore wind. It's so important, a new technology where there is a real need to innovate. I would mention also the innovations relative to the ESG, so to the environmental and social. For instance, we are developing some new technologies relative to the AVI-safe, so digital technologies trying to look for the best integration of the birds and other animals with the wind. So there is a very interesting room of improvement in the innovation side with the wind, even if it is a very mature technology if we compare with other renewable technologies.
Thank you, Belén, very much. Alexandra, as a Secretary General for Energy, right, at the Ministry of Environment and Energy in Greece, how challenging is for you, and what challenges are you facing to set up public funding to invest in such technologies that Belén was just mentioning that help us deliver this energy transition?
Thank you very much. Let me also welcome everyone from Athens. I'm really happy to participate in this event. Thank you very much, Wind Europe, ETIP, for the invitation. Actually, we were saying before that we are all very excited because it's a purely women's panel. and we are all very happy with that. Listen, you know, to make this energy transition a reality, I think that first of all we need innovative technologies, and to make, you know, this technological innovation a reality, we need to support it with new and ambitious policies, but also, as you said, with financial tools. Actually, I was thinking that we don't just need to think outside the box, but perhaps we need to throw away the box altogether, you know, in this effort. So we need to start designing the energy system of 2030 and then of 2050 on new foundations, on new technologies, new design principles. We need to innovate at the technical level and of course at the political level. We need to be very brave and ambitious, of course, if we want to be fit for 55 and set for 2050. In Greece, how we face this challenge, it's true that we are undergoing a vast change in our energy system. You know, we're moving away from lignite, and we are planning to have our new energy system relying on clean and cheap energy sources. But we see, you know, this transition as a necessity, because lignite obviously anymore is dirty, but it's also expensive. And we see this transition as an opportunity. It's an opportunity here in Greece because we want to attract foreign investments and grow our economy. But also it's an opportunity for investors, let me say, because we want to create value by investing in this sector in a very stable investment environment. And I believe that as a country, we have many opportunities to offer as a business and a trading partner. Now, it's a fact that the Greek economy doesn't have a strong industrial production base. But at the same time, because we acknowledge this close link between technological innovation with the green transition, we want to draw funds and expertise to encourage this domestic innovation. For example, let me tell you that we have an ambitious program that we have adopted for funding under RRF to incentivize companies that are active in new technologies and have an active R&D component. This program is going to offer incentives to industries with a mandatory operation of a research and development department, so that they develop innovative products or services. We would also welcome R&D initiatives for the wind sector, for example, for the development of floating infrastructure. But to conclude, if we want to achieve the ambitious goals we have set for the energy sector for Greece, we need to mobilize investments, public, but also private, and that's for this reason, under the so-called green pillar of the RRF, we are going to use 6.2 billion euro to implement investments and reforms overseen by this ministry in the next 5 years that will facilitate Greece's green energy transition. And of course, this amount of public also funding will leverage the private capital needed for the energy transition. We have several projects. I heard already some of them. We are also embarking on this journey of new technologies like offshore or storage or hydrogen. So all of them are going to build, you know, the green future of Greece.
Fantastic, Alexandra. That's very encouraging to hear. Now, maybe we come to you, Paola, because, you know, at the European Commission DG Energy, you know, you've been overseeing the development and the submission of the EU 27 national plans for 2030, right? And this is kind of a roadmap of every member state to deliver now on the higher EU 2030 climate and energy objectives. But they lack the way we read it, right, they lack a bit of R&D detailed measures there, and we this often overlooked. How will the European Commission ensure these national investments, that there are national investments in the there are national investments in R&I, and they will deliver now in even higher set climate ambition for 2030?
Thank you, Agnes. Thank you for the invitation. And it's really a pleasure to join this all ladies panel. And thank you for your question, which is an important question. And to put it in context, I allow myself to refer to the recent report, the Net Zero report by 2050 from the International Energy Agency, where it's indicated that more than a third of the emissions reduction, which is needed if we are really serious about climate neutrality, it will come from technologies which are currently in the demonstration stage, in prototype stage, or have not even been conceived yet. So this really shows the need to put a lot of attention on research and on innovation. And this need, combined with a worrying trend that we are seeing, which is indeed a decreasing spending on clean energy research and innovation by both the public and the private sector. So this is worrying because clearly we need more research, we need more spending on the research, both be it on finance publicly or privately, and I would say and privately, and the trend is rather the opposite. Now, you referred to the place and role of research and innovation in these national energy and climate plans, which were first prepared, the drafts in 2018, and then 2019, all member states put forward these plans. And we were very pleased to have, for the first time ever, as part of the energy acquis, the energy legal set, to have planning and reporting regarding research and innovation. So it is clear that there is no tradition in the member states in terms of planning research and innovation, in terms of looking ahead and really looking into how much will we spend on what, and what is it that we need in terms of research and innovation to deliver on these overall objectives. So for the first time, research and innovation was really put at the same level as other dimensions of the energy policy, be it renewables, be it energy efficiency, be it energy security, to say that if you do not deliver on the research and innovation in clean energy technologies, you can simply not reach the ambitious 2030 targets and more so the climate neutrality by 2050. So I am not so pessimistic in looking to the national energy and climate plans, because we know that other than in other areas of the energy policy, this is the first time that member states are asked, tell us what you plan to do if you are really serious about your plan in other areas, in research and innovation, if you're planning offshore wind, if you're going about green hydrogen, what is it that you're putting then in terms of research and innovation? So I think here it's also a question of starting to have the habit of looking into it and seeing it really as part of the same approach, and that you need to plan it. Now, also on the basis of this governance regulation, the National Energy and Climate Plans, it's the first time we have foreseen a competitiveness progress report, and we issued it last year for the first time. And it was very clear, this competitiveness report indicated that without viable, innovative, and affordable clean technologies, which will support the transition, our ambition will simply not become a reality. And we have put forward some recommendations there. One of them being to encourage member states to set specific sub-targets for clean energy research and innovation spending as part of their GDP. and some are starting to act on it, and we really need to inverse the trend of decreasing spending in research and innovation. Actually, we would need, if you compare it, for instance, with research invested in health, which is fundamental, of course, but where we really have achieved great breakthroughs, be it in vaccination, be it in cancer fight. But you need, if you are to deliver really on this transition, on this energy transition, you would need to increase by 5 times the level of funding put in clean energy research and innovation. Now, member states are asked to submit updated national energy and climate plans by 2030, new drafts, and we are hopeful that in those new draft plans and updated draft plans, there will be more attention put into research and innovation. We're doing a lot of work in parallel, notably, for instance, through the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, the SET plan, where key areas of research and innovation are identified to deliver on the increased targets. So we remain confident, but it's clear that we cannot relax and sit back, because it's a work that needs to continue to really put research and innovation at the very core of this decarbonization agenda.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much. And I think that links very well now to my next questions to Lena, because you are in the research and innovation area, right, being the head of section on society, markets and policy at the Danish Technical University. And we heard Paula saying that, you know, the planning of government is key to get and to expand wind in Europe, but certainly it's not only governments, it's also we need to look at the research members and what they do and how they do it. But what it is really the state of wind energy science in Europe, and do you have enough resources to tackle all these questions that we have on the table right now?
Well, thank you, Adrian. Let me start by congratulating on your report. I think it gives a very clear picture of the position that wind energy is in Europe, and also the trends around it. And I think that the wind energy research community has achieved amazing results in the past around wind energy research, and it has really built that very solid foundation that we stand on, and we can actually talk about carbon-free energy systems in the future. But we are facing new challenges, and they are at a whole different scale than before. If we actually want to reach the climate targets that we've been set out to do, we need massive amounts of renewable deployment, much faster and much more than we've seen before. And for that, every euro that you put into research and innovation today, and it only brings down cost just a little bit per megawatt, it will have a huge return on that investment in the further deployment of in the transition of our energy system. And I think that's really something to focus on, and has been talked about in that also in this event. And I can only support Paula. She has started to say that research spending on wind energy in Europe has actually stagnated. When we look into comparing research spending in 2019, it was actually lower than in 2018. So we have decreased the research spending by around a third even. And other countries are catching up very fast. If you believe some of the numbers that Wind Europe has come with, Japan alone has, in the past years invested more in wind energy research than all of EU member states combined. And if we would like to remain the leader in wind energy research in Europe, we need to do more. And public funding is really essential here. It still accounts for most of the research spending, around 60%. And we have already also heard before, Rosalinda from the European Commission has mentioned the very ambitious plans for research that's coming up in Europe. I think we just need to make sure that it's going to the right places. And here's, I think, an issue, because public funding, we see it very much focused on new technologies that are coming up, like floating offshore wind, for example, and hydrogen. And this is very important, but it also means that there is less and less room for fundamental questions in wind energy science, and also incremental innovations, which we really need to bring down cost. And we do need research in those areas as well. So this basic research science is achieving too little attention. We hear, and we've already heard that on that panel, in this panel, that wind energy is becoming mature. And I agree that it has grown out of infancy, but it doesn't mean that we have figured it out all. So there is still a lot of research to be done, a lot of room for performance enhancement, cost reductions, increasing in size, new materials that can be brought in, and improving reliability and controllability. And most crucially for me, also future-proofing the technology. Future-proofing wind energy technology is very important. So this is about circularity, zero waste, low emission production, right? We need to go and look deep into the wind energy supply chain as well, if we really want to achieve that. So that is one thing. And we also need to become better at embedding technologies in their natural and social environment. I think Jenna has come into that a little bit previously. So yeah, to sum it up, I think we do need that research, and we need to ramp up the research in wind energy and ensure that there is enough to work from. Yeah, and the recent initiatives are a good step in direction, but we need to have a broader research around that. And it's also important to understand that this is not done by single disciplines. So this is a multidisciplinary effort. And yeah, institutes like ours, DTU Wind Energy, where we bring together different disciplines, are very important in this research endeavor for Europe.
Thank you, thank you, Lena.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Let's go back a little bit on the national plans. And Paula just said out there that the national governments needs to update the 2030 national plan. Alexandra, how would Greece plan to do this in view of the more ambitions that EU sets now?
Well, Paula is right. She said that we cannot relax, indeed. We cannot relax on that. And let me tell you, one of the first priorities and initiatives, you know, of the current Greek government back in 2019 was to adopt new ambitious and binding targets. And allow me to say, it's not me who says this, but it's widely accepted, let's say, among our EU partners. We have adopted and actually currently implementing one of the most ambitious energy and climate plans in Europe under these four-pillar set. First of all, the phasing out of all lignite-based electricity production in Greece by 2028, the share of renewables reaching up to 64% in electricity production, the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and the energy efficiency. But of course, now the discussion starts again. The recent review of the European targets by adopting these 55% of emission reductions gives a very strong message, and it shows that the Union will not curtail its ambition to achieve the green transition. And this fully validates actually our choice back in 2019 not to limit ourselves here in Greece to the bare minimum, but to aim high, to aim higher now by adopting more ambitious targets. This work, let me tell you that it has already begun. Last month, the government adopted a new interministerial committee that will revise our NECP. I have the honor to preside and to manage the committee's work. We are one of the first EU countries that started officially the process to amend our NECP and have to agree with the new EU target. And you know, one of the key decisions we made was that we will not simply revise the targets to match with the new ambition. This will be, of course, the key focus, but the targets for energy and energy efficiency will adapt to reflect the new increased ambition, but we have to go beyond that. We are aware that a lot has happened regarding new technologies. You mentioned that offshore storage, so we will incorporate these in our revised NACP targets in more detailed, more concrete ways. We will map our new policies to reach those new targets. We will also map out the financial pathways to reach those targets. We have the RRF, the JTF funds, we have the new NSRF period. Those are new factors that totally change the game, and as are the new taxonomy regulation, the increased appetite investors show for green bonds. So we will have to take all these things into account, new parameters that need to be factored in. So this is how we plan to revise the NACP.
And I'm very happy to hear that you are considering all the new levers out there, and you're already proactively getting back to the working table to see how we can define a new plan that will help us get fit for 55. Right? Let's go back a bit on the innovation and the funding of innovation, basically. And I think you, Belen, at Acciona, being Chief Innovation Officer there, you are bringing down innovation. How important is public funding for a major market leader like Acciona to drive wind forward in Europe, and not only in Europe?
Mm-hmm. Our strategy is, our global innovation strategy is to perform the innovation and the research in Europe and export our research and innovation overseas. We have also some innovation hubs in other countries. For instance, in Latam, in Chile, we have a huge innovation hub for wind and for other technologies, for solar. But we really believe that the public funding are essential in Europe in order to incentivize this innovation pushing and also the research in order to get the wind energy as much as competitive, as my colleagues have been mentioning, driven by the competitiveness. There are a lot of technologies that we are investing in, and the public fundings are, in that sense, really important. Really important because they allow us to start by the piloting. The piloting is essential to start, and moreover, to transfer that pilot technologies into real commercial projects. This is what we call the innovative projects to transfer to our business development teams all over the world. For instance, the energy storage. We launched a couple of pilot plants in Europe, funded by Europe, in order to lead some wind plus storage hybridization technologies. And those technologies have been now exported to some of our commercial wind farms in Australia or in the United States. So the European funding is essential in order to get that research and innovation in Europe. So the wind is in Europe and it is made in Europe. And our vision is to continue doing like this. And the next generation funding, European funding, is going to be very promising in that sense, to try to incentivize those technologies that have been mentioned by Alexandra, by Paula, by Lena in their interventions. And they need this help to start, and they need this help also to continue in the transfer to the commercial activity. If not, they will become stalled and they will die. And this is not the way that the wind energy sector is going to improve. On the other side, and this was also a comment made by my colleagues, we also, from the industry point of view and perspective, love to work in a public and private collaboration for research and innovation. It's so important, this collaboration, also with the help of this public funding. as an open innovation scheme. What does it mean? An open innovation scheme is the real leadership coming from the industry, trying to push on those wind projects, but with the help of these technological centers, with the help of these universities. The academia is also essential, because in the academia, in the technological centers, and with the help of this public funding, is where the fundamental research is done. And from the industry perspective, we have the obligation, I would say, and ability also somehow, and this is the success of some of the companies that are leading the market, of transferring that innovation into real products, into real markets, into real needs from our customers. In the end, we are an electrical company in Acciona. We are selling the electricity to customers that are needing to decarbonize, electrify the processes through the wind and through the wind technology. So from the starting point of the research centers, from the academia to the end point of our customers, the public funding is essential for us in order to, and for this sector, in order to become sustainable in the future.
Thank you, Belen. I guess we can stay for another 1 minute or so on the innovation and the policies for innovation, but also innovative policies. And how can we improve these policies? On the one hand, to build on science and the research that we have, but on the other hand, to make them so flexible to accommodate the technology trends. And we all see that certain technologies are really ramping up very quickly. And the first one coming into all our minds is digital, right? So a few years back, digital was incipient. Now it's all over the place. But we also discussed earlier today that the wind industry has achieved so much in just a couple of decades. And also the pace of development in offshore is very big. How can we have this, maybe Lena, starting with you, balance of these policies to have them flexible enough, but also consider the innovation in technology then, excuse me.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, renewable energy policies, they have evolved enormously fast over the past decades, right? If you think 20 years back, many countries didn't even have a renewable energy policy or deployment policy. And then 10 years ago, everything was about feed-in tariffs, rather administrative. And now we see the surge of auctions and tender schemes. So it is really developing very fast. And so policies are innovating. What I think the next step for policy is that they are being thought more holistically and interlinked, right? So that we do not only think about deploying a certain technology, but that we are thinking in systems more. We acknowledge for hybrid assets and ensuring this enabling framework. Right, in Denmark, we are quite far with wind energy, and we see that for the next projects, wind energy projects, to come online in the 2030s and 2040s, we need at the same time enough power to X capacity. So the offtake on the hydrogen side. So that needs to be developed in parallel. So these forward-looking energy policies on the framework, which are holistically, I think that is very important. And also on the grid infrastructure side, if we think large-scale offshore wind. So that will enable the technologies to really take off in the future. And for that, I think Rasmus from Ørsted stated it in the very beginning about these anticipatory investments. For that, we really need very long-term forward-looking policies so that we can actually do these anticipatory investments for many years ahead. For that, I think policy really needs to believe in their own ambitions to provide these forward-looking financial frameworks so that the private investors actually can go in and invest.
Thank you.
I hope
much.
that will provide the flexibility and the to also innovate at the same time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, technology driven.
Thank you, Lena, very much. I know we are on time here, but I would not like to close without answering this question, and maybe to both you, Paula and Alexandra, on the policy side of the panel here. We know that the European Commission is now preparing the Fit for 55 legislative package, and that will update the regulatory framework to deliver the 2050 decarbonization ambitions. What will be the research and innovation priorities on that package? What are the instruments and programs that you would be advocating for as part of the package?
Thank you, Agnes. Would you like me to start?
Yes, please, Paula. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, here we're really walking the talk, and we have unprecedented funding foreseen for research and innovation in order to allow for the clean energy transition. And if you look into the various instruments, starting with the long-term EU budget, so the so-called MFF, and the recovery instrument that was also unprecedented following COVID, where the recovery instrument has foreseen 750 billion of euro, and from those, at least 30% of EU spending, so 30% of EU spending should contribute to climate objectives, which are, of course, achieved mainly through investments in the clean energy transition. And then we have set specific targets also for individual EU programs. Take Horizon Europe, and this is really massive. 35% of Horizon Europe is geared towards financing research in clean and energy technologies. 30% of the InvestEU is to mobilize, this corresponds to over 370 billion euro of investments in sustainable infrastructure, energy efficiency, renewable energy integration. Then, of course, we still have the cohesion policy, which very, very much geared to promoting a clean and fair energy transition, again, including energy efficiency, of course, renewable energy, smart grids. The LIFE program, for the first time, includes a clean energy transition sub-program, which is meant to supporting capacity of both the private and the public sector, and so as to create the right conditions to mobilize investments in clean energy and energy efficiencies. And if I speak of priorities, well, let me take some examples for research and innovation priorities in Horizon Europe related to wind, because that's what we're mainly discussing here. High voltage direct current is one of those priorities, and I saw that this is part of your recommendations in the report that you put out today. So this is being targeted. Also scaling up of recycling technologies and developing new high performance materials. Again, this is also something which is part of your recommendations. Digitalization and data analytics, large rotor aerodynamics. So clearly there are a number of also very specific priorities within wind when it comes to research and innovation that we have identified, and you will have all the possibility to participate, and be it virtually, in the Info Day on the Horizon Europe Work Programme 2021-22, which is due for adoption imminently. And the Info Day on this is on the 5th and the 6th of July. Thank you very much.
Alexandra, from your side, anything to add?
Well, in 10 seconds, we actually await the package, the Fit for 55 package, eagerly, because this will give us the opportunity to get into more detail in our work. We will elaborate our strategy. We will design the new policies and all the programs that we'll put in place. We will actually take advantage of all these tools that Paula just analyzed. But I'm very optimistic. You know, this is something that will happen in any case in all countries. We are all working towards this direction, and I'm quite confident that we will achieve this somehow. We have everything. We have the money coming from Brussels. We have the ideas, innovative ideas, policies and measures are all on the table. It's up to us, actually, to seize this opportunity.
Very good. And I think those are, from both of you, I took some of the very powerful concluding remarks here. Firstly, is walk the talk. Europe wants to walk the talk, is walking the talk here by allocating unprecedented funding in sustainability. Everybody, throughout the discussions that we had today in different panels with different parts of the stakeholders or different parts of the industries with many stakeholders there, everybody's excited about it. Everybody's willing to do it. Everybody's committed of doing it, right? And I think our report, and I can only hope that the report is a good advisory on where the priorities should be and where the priorities lie, such that we can pave properly the way towards achieving our commitments and our targets and our ambitions where we want to have the world in 2030 and in 2050. With that, first of all, thank you as a panel, an all-woman panel, as you all mentioned. Lovely to have you here with us today. Thank you for your time. And thank you to all of you connected online to this event. I hope it was an insightful event for you. I can only encourage to go and download the report, read it, reach out to ETIPWind in case of any further questions, recommendations, or any other matters you may have. With that, thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.